Something I keep saying in political meetings these days is to explain that the right and far right is organized as one endless political conference. And when I mean this, I try to explain that there are dozens of organizations with non-stop conference events organizing and bringing together the far right and right from around the world, including some really big names that you probably heard of and tons that you have never heard of, including myself. One of the big ones is called the Conservative Political Action Conference. This is a 51-year-old American organization that has pumped in buckets and buckets of money into bringing together the political sphere and the cultural sphere of the American right. And from the beginning, this was always seen as an international project, trying to bring in people from the global right to a united front against their enemies, which they see as the liberals and the left. CPAC has grown so big that it is one of the most major events in the entire global conservative calendar. Not only that, it has franchised off into many, many countries. Just this year, they've held events in Argentina, Japan, Mexico, Australia, Paraguay, Hungary, and Poland. Not only that, they've held just this year in the United States, CPAC DC, CPAC Beverly Hills, CPAC Awards in DC, CPAC Miami, CPAC International Summit to Combat Human Trafficking, the CPAC Annual Gala at Mar-a-Lago, literally at Donald Trump's house. And not only that, we have another major CPAC USA coming up at the beginning of next year in March. CPAC is an organization bringing together every single year tens of thousands of people from around the world across their ideological movement into one place. And they do it in a way that seems counterintuitive for such a political ideology that is so emboldening of the elites. Well, they're very egalitarian about the pricing. One of the big ways they're able to make these events so major is that their ticket prices are very, very low. The last CPAC in the United States only had a $42 ticket, and it was slightly lower for young people. This means they were spending for 4 days and 4 nights about $10 a day. This means any rando can go to CPAC in any of the countries that it's doing its thing. In addition to that, they have more rich members pay more money, which allows them to do these ridiculous non-stop events. And CPAC isn't just about hosting non-stop events all the time, they're also creating media, they're building policy, they're also helping to fund many, many political parties, institutions, creators, and all sorts of things. CPAC is the place where ideas flow along with money and influence. It is where the Nationalist International thrives. Well, CPAC is just one of many, many groups. You also have National Conservative Conference. This one was set up by Viktor Orban and Yoram Hazony of Israel. This is another one that has international events that have been spun up that is pushing the limit on the far right, bringing together the right and the far right in one place to shape their ideological vision. And you really don't understand how extreme and how open they are about it unless you go and sit and watch through the YouTube videos of the speeches of some of the people that they put up there. One very, very big example is how exactly a year before the Iran attacks by the US, it was, the headliner right after J.D. Vance was the Shah of Iran. You can't make that one up, kids. CPAC overcomes a problem that I see amongst all progressive parties for the most part, that the political sphere and the cultural sphere are separated. Whereas in the right, the political sphere and the cultural sphere are so deeply intertwined that you cannot tell the difference between them. This allows them to leverage huge events like this to make a mass movement out of the right. And one big thing to keep in mind is that CPAC is not a party conference. It is not something that's going to have procedural motions or jostling over positions. It's just there for people to hang out, go to some panels, watch some speeches, have a good night out, meet people across their political movement, not just from their local area, from across their country and across the world. This is how the MAGA movement creates more MAGA people and creates connections between people of different tendencies and different movements to work together in their united goal in defeating their political enemies. At the same time, this doesn't exist anywhere on the left, whether it's liberals or greens or socialists or communists. None of these kind of structures exist to bring everyone together under one house, both the academic and influencer and the politician and party worker, the regular activist and the high person in a position of prestigious power. This place doesn't exist. And that is why I've been putting in work to come up with the concept of a DemCon, a democracy conference where we will be able to build a similar structure and organization to CPAC to bring together both the progressive liberals all the way to the left. DemCon will be about bringing together that cultural sphere with the political sphere and intertwining them together, not in a clientist relationship, but one of equals working together in a unified political movement, not just in one country, but across borders, understanding that if we want to have democracy, we can't abide by an idea of democracy in one country. It either thrives for all of us or it dies quickly. To get the first DemCon started, it mainly needs money. The planning, the logistical, and all of this is not the difficult part. It's getting together the cash to get the first one started, and thus have a proof of concept and continue rolling it forward from there, so that it can expand out and operate in the same functional purpose as CPAC or NatCon or ARC or any of these other conservative conferences. A place where we can build up the entire movement, both investing in its people and also its party and organizations. My vision of the initial DemCon would be to host it either in Vienna, Austria, or in Brussels, Belgium, two places known for their place in progressivism and also international politics. This is vital to get started, and also it's important to select places that are relatively easy to get to from airports and connections. Not only that, big conference centers that are easily accessible. This kind of cost would probably run around 600,000 to 900,000 euros. This will become a major point because I want to make it able so that people not with money can come attend. That means most of this will be put towards ample travel funds for young people and poorer people so that they're able to still attend this event. That it's not just a place for political elites and social elites and cultural elites to come together and vibe. That is a place for the entire movement, a place that is not determined by cost for your ability to participate, where we find solidarity pricing that makes it so that people with more pay more and people with less pay nothing. DemCon 1 would focus on creating that united transnational anti-fascist resistance in rebuilding our democracies and putting forward a new social program that works for everyone, that lowers the costs of living and provides an environment and earth that will be good for not only ourselves, but the generations that come after. It is, in my mind, place that we can bring together at minimum 3,000 to 5,000 people from around the world to have heavy discourse and discussion and to meet each other to work together on projects in the immediate period and in the future. And if I can prove that this works, if our organizational team can prove that it works, we can expand this out and do it bigger and bigger and bigger. And just like CPAC, become such a vital place where the entire progressive movement from around the world comes to meet to figure out how we can build the world that we believe that should be. But doing all of this is going to take a lot of money, and it's going to take some time, and it's going to take a lot of effort, both effort from professionals and volunteers and volunteer professionals, because putting together something like this is very hard when you don't have billionaires backing you. But there is definitely enough people that believe in democracy that can kick in a little to make something like this happen. Otherwise, we are constantly going to be at a disadvantage if we never invest in any institutions to build up our political movement, to build up democracy, and to figure out how to fight back against the tide of fascism happening all over the world. DemCon can be that space that we transform and reinvigorate our ideologies, our ideas, and we come to a conclusion and collective identity about where we see the current century going and how to fix the problems at hand. Just like 100 years ago, we need dramatic action and dramatic change if we hope to have our beliefs survive. And that must happen now, not later. We have already had the luxury of time stripped away from us by our forebears. Right now is the time to act, to build, to make sure that something like DemCon is not an idea that we all think, oh, it would be really great if we had something like the right. Instead, Let's just do it. Now, if you think this is a very good idea to bring together the cultural sphere of progress and the political parties and the trade unions and everyone else in our movement into a single massive event that we can continue spreading out across the world so that we can finally meet and work together eye to eye, then please get in contact with me. And better yet, donate money towards this project. I want this to happen next year. I don't want this to be something that is just a fantasy. Let us get towards a place where we are building a bigger and bigger progressive society for all of us, and that we are not alone and dispirited, cast out across all the winds. We need a place to come together. We need DemCon.